Oh, so good. Oh man. So what's going on, guys? That face, that smile you see right now is just because I have an amazing shot of espresso, and when things come out really, really nice, it really does make me feel really, really good. So without further ado, hi guys, my name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast One Life. Don't Quit Part Two. In the month of January and April is usually the time where people are getting frustrated with New Year's resolutions, things they committed to but haven't yet followed through with or are just struggling with. So, the reason I'm on here today is just to kind of guide you through some of those struggles as well as give you a little bit of perspective. Yesterday, I did a live and we spoke about, well, what is it, when should you quit? Like, when should you give up the thing? And when is it your mind and your heart guiding you to keep going? Today we're going to do something a little bit differently. Today we're just going to we're going to get into what it takes to be successful in any area of your life. I'm going to give you an example with regard to my coffee as well as even doing this podcast and coming on here live daily. So let's just dive right into it. But before we do that, let's get familiar with where are you struggling? Where are you having troubles? Where are you thinking about giving up on the thing, right? Where, you had gotten excited about it and you're like, oh, yes, this is what I want to do. You took action, your action sucked, and now you're like, you know what? Maybe I don't really want to do that thing, or maybe I wasn't really meant to do it, but you are. What is that thing? And then next, what actions have you been taking, right? And be honest with yourself here. Like, what actions have you taken, and at what frequency or quote unquote velocity? Meaning, if you've done something once, you tried something once, and it didn't work. What else did you do? If you only tried once, then there's still a lot more for you to try. There's still a lot more for you to learn. I'll go into my experience with doing this podcast. One of the reasons I'm very comfortable coming on here live, one of the reasons why I don't even have a script. When I'm on here, sometimes I'll have like a few bullet points that I go by. But for the most part, it is me just sharing something from my heart, something that I think would be of value to you. When I look back at old lives that I went on, like I wasn't always the most comfortable. Even the way I would introduce myself kind of felt awkward. I look at it now and I literally cringe. I'm like, oh my God, that's embarrassing. I can't believe that's still up. But isn't that the process of life? Isn't that the same with everything you do for the first time, right? When is it really ever that good? Right? When do you start off and be like, wow, I am perfect at this right now. It was my first time. I am perfect. I don't need to learn anymore. It's never the case. So whether you're looking up to someone or who is in your career that is at the peak of that, they didn't start there, right? They started right where you are. They started having to learn and sucking at the first time and feeling awkward and not having the confidence. But as a result of learning the necessary skills, as a result of never giving up and just keep going after the thing that they want, now all of a sudden they develop the competency, they develop the confidence, and there you go. Now they're reaping the rewards. But let's get past what it means to keep going. Like, why are you going in the first place? It's very important to connect to that why, because that's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to make you show up for the things you are going for, the goals you have in life when you don't want to. Part of it is identity too. Like when I show up here because I have a bigger mission in terms of wanting you to live your fullest life. And I think back at, many points in my life, right? There's in all the categories of my life, some areas I've thrived in, where I look back at the results and I'm like, oh, well, sure, well, everyone has these results. No, they don't, right? It's because I applied, over and over and over. I get kind of this narrow focus where when I get fixated on something. But then isn't it true? Once you become an expert or you've acquired a skill in something, you think it's common knowledge, but it's not. So my intention for coming on here was to remind you of those talents you have and to remind you of how you got them in the first place, which is by showing up consistently. And another thing I wanted to share is just even with my experience in coffee. Like there's always been espresso is my passion, my forte. It is the area where I know more than I would say 99% of the not just the population, but even the coffee professional population, people working in the industry. Why do, why do I know so much? And I could look at, it's this pursuit of the perfect cup. It is this romance of it. It's this curiosity of wanting to know, always know how to make it better. It's like this nagging desire. Even if I wanted to turn it off, it's impossible. I can't turn it off if I want it. And sometimes even when I want to step away, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. When I would like give it up, so to speak, for a short period of time, I would be around people and they're like, "Oh my God, you are just so passionate about it. I see the passion." And it's almost I'm trying to deny it because I was just going through pain of pulling shots and having them taste like shit and not come out good, and just being so frustrated because I'm not getting the result I want. And and thinking that I'm supposed to have all the answers, that I'm supposed to be perfect, that I'm supposed to know it all. When you think you know it all, that is when you really don't know a thing. And as a result of letting go and be like, you know what? Yeah, the shot came out kind of shitty. Actually, no, the shot sucked. There's more to learn here. And then once I opened myself up to that possibility of there's more to learn, all of a sudden the freaking floodgates opened up, and all of these new insights have come into my life, in my mind about espresso, and I thought I knew it all. I was like, there's nothing more I could possibly learn, but there is a shit ton that I could learn, and I am learning. But it takes courage. It takes the ability to step into that discomfort. You're like, all right, well, what discomfort is there in coffee, right? How can you be discomfortable? We're talking about coffee, there's a lot, right? Because if I make a bad cup of coffee, right, it actually it's almost like a wound. If I make a bad cup of coffee, I feel it. Likewise, if I make a great cup of coffee, I feel that too. But it's this, this feeling that if I don't do it, like, I'm not good enough, or why can't I? I'm supposed to be this person, an expert in. Why is it not coming right, right? And taking it as a blow. But that's not the case, right? Everyone, there's I like the analogy of like your shitty first pancake, or I like to say my shitty first shot, right? How often do you pull the first shot of espresso and have it come out perfect? Right? It rarely ever happens. Once in a blue moon, it happens for me, but not that often. Right? Once in a while, I'll pull it and I'm like, all right, perfect. This shot is perfect. But then I remember that I ran espresso cleaner through the machine today, and that perfect shot that looks so good, I have to dump it out anyways. So it's never the first shot, right? It always takes try after try in order to get it right. So what makes you think that is going to be any different with any endeavor that you have for your life? So even when you are at the pinnacle of your career, there's always room to grow. There's always room to learn more, to give more. So where are you in your life? What is that thing you've been struggling with? And how do you feel about it right now? Right? Does it not feel like it's that big of a deal? No, you're like, oh well, yeah, I tried this, I failed miserably, but you know what? That's okay. I'll just keep going. Right? Do you feel, as a result of this, listening to this right now, do you feel a little bit more confident about your ability to move forward and your desire to move forward? The biggest killer of your dreams is the fact that you take yourself too seriously, the fact that you are afraid to make mistakes. Because when you're not afraid to make mistakes, you will try anything. Really quick, going back to that coffee example, right? Like I was telling you, with the espresso, I'm always striving to get that perfect cup, and the fear and hesitancy of not moving forward because I don't want to let myself down with that. you're like, well, how can you step forward? Like, what are the fears? So I reached out to a consultant in Italy today because I want to learn more about espresso. Espresso is my passion, especially Italian espresso. Not so much the American and the Australian style, but Italian espresso is the oldest Italian espresso, not the new age stuff that they're doing now, which I completely disagree with. So I reached out to a coffee company, a roasting company, to learn and get in touch with some consultants. They do consulting. So the conversation started, but I made the decision to reach out to them because I had this little spurt of information. I was like, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool to know a little bit more about that? And then without even thinking, I typed in a computer, sent an email out, and then all of a sudden now I'm in contact. When you get these little blips of inspiration, not information, well, I guess information too, act on them, right? Because they're there for a reason. You have to act on those little spurts of excitement because that is what's going to help you take the next step and inch you forward, right? Step by step, day by day. That's a show from the 90s, Step by Step. Anyways, I'm dating myself. But I hope you feel a little bit lighter as a result of listening to this podcast. I hope you have the courage and the will to continue on your path, to move forward, to not give up, but to master whatever it is that you're setting out to do. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. That is the only way that we can grow the listenership and we can make the difference in getting people just to enjoy more of life, to follow their hearts. So share, subscribe, share this post. If you think it resonates with someone who needs to hear this in their life right now, share it with them. It's one of the biggest gifts you can give them. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can subscribe, ask a question, or comment via my website at www.donnyrouse.com. Again, www.donnyrouse.com. One more time, DONNYRAUS.com. And if you like great coffee, if you like the roast, like a beautiful, smooth roast that's full-bodied, and gives you that smile. If you didn't watching this on video, the smile I had at the beginning of my video because I just took a sip of an amazingly pulled shot of espresso. Could be drip coffee, could be anything. Try my Rouse coffee. I spent more than 2 decades perfecting my craft and throwing myself into it wholeheartedly so that you can have the enjoyment during your morning cup of coffee. To get a discount, you can go to www.rousecoffee.com, RAUScoffee.com, RAUSCOFFEE.com. Use the discount code ONELIFE, all capitals, to receive 10% off your first order. That is all I've got for you guys today. Guys, follow your heart and remember, you only get one life. Live it. God bless, and I will see you again